So it's been about a month now since I made the video, more downside to come for crypto, how to invest in the market. I just made that video because I just really wanted to warn everybody, give everybody a heads up what I'm seeing, because it just didn't look too good in the markets. The S&P 500 was looking like a head and shoulder top. That ended up breaking down like we were talking about. And like I said, if that does break down, then crypto is correlated to the S&P 500. Why is it correlated? As I said in the video, it's just if people have money on one thing and that loses, then that creates stress, that creates fear on them. They'll then look for funds, right? So they'll sell off their other assets. So that's why everything is correlated. All this stuff, it's all connected online. It's all the same thing. So let's just quickly react to that video. And I just want to give my update to what is happening now. Like, what do I see now in terms of the short term? And what do I see in terms of the medium and long term for crypto? And what happens is people can start to panic sell and you get these big capitulations like what happened during COVID. So that's pretty much what a head and shoulder is. It's also very important when looking at the price to look at the lows, because the stock market is very hard to buy the low. Usually it comes in a V bottom reversal. So stock market is really hard. The low is going to come really quick. It might only be literally like one day. But if we look at the price currently, it's been in this area for like a whole entire year. It's been at these lows once here again, and now just recently this week, it's been there again. So we've been at the lows 3 times now. The odds are whenever you revisit the lows, even twice or, anything more than once, the odds are you actually go lower. Yeah, so I was just saying, like, it just really did seem like the odds are that we were to go lower, and that's happened. Now let's just quickly go over to when I was talking about what would happen with Bitcoin. Everybody had all of these crazy predictions, but no one, got it right. No one was saying, hey, I think Bitcoin's going to go sideways for an entire year and do nothing. So if we believe that the S&P 500 is going to correct lower, I cannot imagine Bitcoin going up in that environment. I think that's highly unlikely. Is it possible? Of course, it's possible. Anything is possible. But yeah, I think Bitcoin, sadly, I think it's going to break down even lower. And if we start revisiting this support level down here at 30,000, that will be just like the S&P 500, which is 3 touches, 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. Stock market doesn't like to give us multiple times or multiple opportunities to buy the bottom. So it's probably not the bottom and you're probably going to go lower. All right. So now if we go to today, let's check out what's been happening with the S&P 500. So we had that head and shoulder top that we're talking about. It did confirm and it did break down, as we're saying. So as we break down, we're saying that, hey, what that will do to Bitcoin is make that move lower, break down to support. And that's where we are today. So overall, I'm still pretty bearish on the market. And like I was saying in that video, you might want to even check out the full version of it because it will make more sense as well. That was just the highlight. So now we're at support, right? I still think we're probably going to go lower because now this is kind of like the same setup as the S&P 500 before. Like, remember when the S&P 500, as I was saying, is like 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches, 4 touches, right? It's actually highly unlikely that it's the bottom because the bottom is hard. The bottom should come very quick. Now, that's what's happening with Bitcoin. So it's like Bitcoin is just lagging behind the S&P 500. So now it's 1, 2, this is 3-ish. This is like the 4th touch. So does this look like what the bottom will look like? No way. Like, it really doesn't look like the bottom at all. And I keep seeing on crypto Twitter, like everyone's saying like, oh, the fear is just like insane. It's the exact same as March 2020. It's the exact same at the bottom in December 2018. And it's like similar to back in January 2015 when you had those big capitulations. And trust me, I lived through all of them. I don't think the fear is the same, because usually when we get to the bottom, it's like when I start to feel a little bit of fear, I'm like, oh shit, now it's probably getting pretty damn close to the bottom. So at the moment, I still don't feel any fear personally. This is all like pretty standard stuff so far. So, that's a big thing with trading and investing is like being in tune with your own emotions, being in tune with your own psychology and really reviewing yourself and doing like a little gut check. So like right now, my gut, it's not clenching up at all just yet. So now, what's the next move going to be for Bitcoin for the short term? So we are at support, right? The move has been made towards the downside. So now that that move has been made, I think it's kind of like a coin flip, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a coin flip. 50% chance we move up, 50% chance we go down. I know that's not really helpful, but I'm not as certain as I was before. The reason why I say that is just because if we check the funding rate on many of the crypto exchanges, so funding rate is like when you're trading with leverage, you have to pay an interest rate. If there's more demand to the upside, if more people are buying, you have to, that shows like those guys would have to pay. If more people are shorting, then those people would have to pay the opposite position. So it's a bit complicated, and I won't explain the full thing, and goes a little bit more in depth than that. But as we can see, and if you just check any of the websites, like everybody is shorting. So right now, whoever is going short, they're the ones getting paid. So it is actually profitable. And it is some people's strategies that they watch things like this and they wreck the market short term. So they squeeze them. So it is profitable right now to do a short squeeze. So I'm just saying, all right, the market's moved down. It makes sense that we have a bit of a bounce because we're at support right now. And it actually is profitable to do that because you will literally get paid an interest rate to do that. So let's just say it's a 50-50. Reason why it's 50-50 is because the S&P still doesn't look that good. It does look like it probably can have a bit of a pullback as well to resistance up here, just because we've had one red candle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red candles in a row. That's pretty damn crazy. So I think short term, the fear is probably at a max, and then you start to recover a little bit. People start to get all hyped up again that the bull market's back. And then where are you? You're just back at the resistance of the head and shoulder. And people who were saying, oh, I wish I had sold here previously on the left side when we broke down, which is where I sold most of, I trimmed a lot of positions there. The people that regretted trimming the positions there, they will then not make the same mistake twice. So that's how it forms that resistance. So I think that's like the base case with that. So that's how I can see a little bit of a bounce coming in with Bitcoin. But at the same time, like overall medium term, this is still negative. If we're talking months, this is still negative. So base case is I still think until January 2023, overall, it's still a downtrend. So same thing with Bitcoin. Medium terms, I think it's definitely a downwards trend. But we could get the bounce. How high can we bounce? I think we're going to struggle to where I made the video before saying that the Bitcoin's about to break down. So I think it's around 39,000 to probably 42,000. So whenever you're doing technical analysis, a big mistake is people draw these really thin lines, like these lines here, right? Like you have like these pixels that you can do, like 4 pixels is the max. And I wish they would allow you to do even bigger, because it's not like an exact science like that. I wish you could draw like a big fat crayon, because yeah, it never lines up exactly perfectly. All of this stuff is a big range. So the range for me with the resistance is probably, yeah, even down to 37 up to 42. I think it's going to be extremely hard, because that's where you can see the momentum started to swing downwards, started to break down, boom, and then you collapse there. So now, it might be profitable, come up to it, but then it's going to be resistance again, come down here, and then what would you have? It would have a low, a low, a low, a low, and another low. That is so many lows. And what does that remind me of? That reminds me of this back here. So back in 2017, 2018, everybody was saying this was the bottom at $6,000, the infamous $6,000 region. But and people were saying, oh, we're on crypto Twitter, we're forming a base, right? We're forming a base. It can't go any lower. But like we're saying, the market never bottoms with a base. It always bottoms with a big spike down into capitulation. So check out the Wall Street cheat sheet. It's always a big capitulation down. And then check any asset. There are no assets that correct perfectly. Like they're just hitting this one level again and again and again, and then they start going up nicely. It's never nice, right? This stuff is not a nice place. It's not a safe place. So if we get all these touches, it makes sense we go lower. And what would that be as well? Across the highs, it's lower high, lower high, lower high. And then if we break down below this low, it'll be a new low. And that is what will spark a lot of fear and a lot of liquidations, because the people that are going long, the people that are in the tribe of crypto and they're so brainwashed by crypto, right, and they can't look at this without an ego, they all have their stop loss below this wick here. They all have their stop loss below about, it's probably around 24,000, 23,000 is their stop loss, right? And they're targeting upwards that we still go to 100,000. Now, when you hit that, it creates a big, all of these sell orders, because stop losses, if you're buying first and you put a stop loss, what is that? That's a sell order. So when you trigger that, there's all of these sells sitting there. And then that's when you can spike down really quickly and you get these big red candles. So I do think it is still possible. Like I was saying in that video, like, call me crazy, but it is possible to hit $10,000 and even wick below it. I know it sounds insane, but that's how liquidation events work. They can go down extremely quick. Long term, like, is this price good? I'd say, yeah, it's not too bad. You know, long term, it's all right. Long term, I do think we'll get to 100,000 eventually. But the way I look at crypto, it's more like a game of hot potato, because these are non-productive assets. They're not actually producing anything. There is no cash flow produced that can buy the dip like with an actual company, right? So actual companies, like say like Apple as an example, they produce something, they produce real world value through the iPhone, through all of that stuff, and they make a lot of profit. If their stock price keeps on dropping, then eventually they can deploy that profit and buy back their own shares. So that's what makes them less volatile. There always is, well, most of the time there is a buyer of last resort, where with this crypto stuff, it is a little bit scary. So I do think, you know, I think it's a screaming buy if we do get down to 10,000-ish, 10,000, anywhere from 10,000 really to 15,000. I think it's a screaming buy down there. It could go lower still as well. Like, I think it can still go down to 6,000 again. Highly unlikely. You know, like it's quite highly unlikely. But I think it is decently likely that we can get to 10 to 15. And yeah, definitely watch this line. Watch this line right here. 25,000. If we go under 25,000, watch, there's probably going to be a bit of a decent sized red candle because of the liquidations. So short term 50-50, up or down, not really sure. But once we go below 25, boom, it's going to be a decent sized liquidation event. And it's probably not going to be looking too good. So I think it's all eyes on the S&P 500 right now. Do we start bouncing up a little bit? Because we are probably a little bit oversold in the short term. But once that rolls over, more fear will come into the markets, and we probably have another leg down across all assets across the board. So that's my base case. Short-term bearish, short-term 50-50, sorry. So short-term 50-50, medium-term bearish, long-term still bullish on this stuff. All right. You know, the high quality assets, still bullish on the high quality assets. But the tough thing is to honestly know, is your asset high quality, yes or no? And just as a side note as well, like, you know, when I keep posting these bearish things, like, I will flip bullish. When everybody eventually gets really, really bearish, then that's probably when I'm going to start flipping bullish. When I flip bullish, people are going to start probably calling me crazy again. But that's just how it is. And, you know, people are really angry right now just because I posted a video. But, you know, my goal is to honestly help. And whenever someone gets angry, then it's proving to you that they don't know anything, because this is a game about your emotions and your psychology. If they're all wrapped in the moment and they're just, you know, they have the urge to type on the keyboard and, you know, they lose control over themselves, then that is literally evidence that they don't know what they're talking about, because that's all it is. It's how can you stay level-headed? How can you stay one step ahead? And if you can do that, you're going to be very successful in the long run. And watch, like, when we start flipping bullish again, people are going to be angry, because that's when they just learned how to short, or, you know, they learned how to make money from the downside, or they probably sold everything and they're all in cash. So that's the sad reality of this game. People don't understand what they know, and people don't understand what they don't know. All right, that wraps up the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be sure to make more videos like this, probably be pumping out these TA videos maybe like once a month or so. And I'm going to be pumping out weekly videos. So get ready for that.